There's a unique kind of loneliness that comes from realizing the people you trust most are laughing at your expense. For years, I believed my family was imperfect but loving, a group bound by shared history and mutual care. But when I stumbled upon their secret group chat, everything shifted. The messages were cruel, mocking, and dismissive, painting me as a punchline rather than a person. Each word felt like a knife slicing through the fragile illusion of belonging I had clung to for so long. Betrayal doesn't announce itself with fanfare. It creeps in quietly, leaving scars that ache long after the initial wound. It began unexpectedly, or so I thought. One afternoon, while helping my sister Elena troubleshoot her phone, I noticed an app notification blinking on her screen. Family, chat. Without thinking much of it, I tapped to open it, curiosity getting the better of me. What I discovered inside left me reeling. The chat was filled with screenshots of my texts, photos of me looking awkward or tired, and snarky comments, dissecting every aspect of my life. My mother joked about how pathetic my attempts at cooking were. My father mocked my career choices, calling them a waste of potential. Even Elena, who I thought was my closest ally, chimed in with jokes about my fashion sense and dating misadventures. The tone was light, almost playful, but the cruelty beneath it was undeniable. They weren't just teasing. They were tearing me apart piece by piece, one message at a time. I sat there, staring at the screen, my chest tightening as nausea rose in my throat. How long had this been going on? Was this why they always seemed amused during family dinners, exchanging knowing glances whenever I spoke? Had every moment of vulnerability I shared with them been fodder for their private amusement? For hours, I couldn't move, rereading the messages until the words blurred together. Part of me wanted to confront them immediately, to storm into the house and demand answers. But another part recoiled at the thought. What would they say? Would they deny it, laugh it off as harmless fun, or worse, double down on their mockery? I couldn't face them yet, not without a plan. Instead, I retreated into myself, replaying memories in search of signs I might have missed. There were moments that suddenly made sense. The way my father rolled his eyes when I mentioned a promotion. The smirks Elena tried to hide when I talked about hobbies she deemed nerdy. The faint smirk my mother wore whenever I discussed future plans. It wasn't paranoia. It was pattern recognition. And now, armed with proof, I understood the truth. I was never truly part of their inner circle. To them, I was an outsider, tolerated but not respected. The betrayal gnawed at me, festering into anger over the next few days. Every interaction with them felt tainted, each smile laced with insincerity. I avoided family gatherings, claiming work obligations, and dodged calls with vague excuses. Inside, though, I was plotting. If they thought I was a joke, then I'd give them something real to laugh about or cry over. The opportunity came sooner than expected. My parents announced they were hosting a dinner party to celebrate their anniversary, inviting extended family and close friends. Normally, I would have declined, citing prior commitments, but this time, I accepted eagerly. This was my chance to turn the tables, to expose their hypocrisy in front of everyone they cared about. The night of the party arrived, and I walked into the house feeling like a stranger in my own skin. Laughter echoed from the living room, mingling with the clink of glasses and soft strains of music. My family greeted me warmly, oblivious to the storm brewing beneath my calm exterior. I smiled politely, playing the role of dutiful son while secretly counting down the minutes until my moment. When dessert was served, my father stood to make a toast, raising his glass high as he launched into a sentimental speech about love, loyalty, and family bonds. His words dripped with sincerity, each sentence a dagger twisting deeper into my resolve. As he concluded, I stepped forward, clearing my throat loudly enough to draw attention. "I'd like to say a few words, too," I began, my voice steady despite the chaos swirling inside me. "About family." The room fell silent, all eyes turning toward me. My mother's smile faltered slightly, sensing something was off. I pulled out my phone, projecting the chat onto the television screen mounted on the wall. Gasps rippled through the crowd as the messages appeared, stark and damning against the backdrop of cheerful decorations. "This is what you've been saying about me behind my back," I said, my tone cold and clipped. This is how you treat the person you claim to love. Elena's face turned pale, her hands trembling as she covered her mouth. My father's expression shifted from confusion to horror, while my mother looked away, unable to meet my gaze. Guests exchanged uneasy glances, unsure whether to stay or leave. The silence stretched endlessly, broken only by the sound of someone setting down a glass too hard. "You think it's funny?" I continued, my voice rising. "To mock me? To belittle me? To tear me down whenever I'm not around? Well, congratulations. You succeeded. You made me feel worthless. But here's the thing. I'm done letting you define who I am." For a long time, no one spoke. The weight of my words hung heavy in the air, suffocating us all. Finally, my father cleared his throat, his voice shaky. We thought it was harmless." "Harmless?" I shot back, incredulous. "You called me pathetic, a failure, a joke. That's not harmless, it's cruel." He had no response, and neither did anyone else. The evening ended abruptly, guests fleeing awkwardly as the tension became unbearable. I left soon after, walking out into the cool night air with a strange mix of relief and emptiness. In the weeks that followed, the fallout was brutal. Elena begged for forgiveness, insisting she hadn't meant any harm. My parents apologized repeatedly, but their words felt hollow, like Band-Aids slapped over gaping wounds. Trust isn't something you can rebuild overnight, especially when it's been shredded so completely. But amidst the chaos, something unexpected happened. For the first time in years, I felt free. Exposing the truth wasn't easy. It cost me relationships, invitations, and even sleepless nights, but it gave me back a piece of myself. I wasn't just the butt of their jokes anymore. I was the architect of my own redemption. Eventually, Elena reached out, asking to meet for coffee. She looked different, smaller, more vulnerable. Gone was the confident sister who had laughed at my expense. In her place was a woman burdened by regret. "I'm sorry," she whispered, tears streaming down her face. "I didn't realize how much it hurt you. I thought it was okay because everyone else was doing it." Her apology didn't erase the pain, but it was a start. Over time, we began rebuilding our relationship, one tentative conversation at a time. She helped me set boundaries, ensuring our interactions remained respectful moving forward. Slowly, painfully, trust began to form again. As for my parents, our relationship remains complicated. They apologized repeatedly, but the scars of their betrayal linger. Still, we found ways to reconnect, sharing quiet moments that reminded me of happier times. It wasn't perfect, but it was progress. Looking back now, I realized that confronting them publicly wasn't just about revenge. It was about reclaiming my voice. For years, I'd carried the weight of their actions in silence, letting bitterness consume me. Speaking the truth freed me from that burden, allowing me to move forward with clarity and purpose. Life doesn't offer neat endings, no matter how much we crave them. Some wounds may never fully heal, and some relationships may never return to what they once were. But amidst the chaos and pain, there's always a chance for redemption, if we're willing to fight for it. In the end, Elena didn't just mock me. She gave me an opportunity to rediscover my strength. And while I'll never forget what they did, I've learned that forgiveness isn't about forgetting. It's about choosing to rise above the past and create something new.